I was due to do a talk about the book, and I started to think about what I suggest people do when they need help with their skiing, and that's get some help from somebody who's used to doing that activity and an expert in that field. So that's what I decided to do, was I looked for somebody that could help me with public speaking, and I came across yourself.
I still remember that first email. It was that kind of like, oh, it's not very far away. And I know there's not a lot of time. Is there anything that we can do in this short space of time? What kind of feelings were you experiencing at that moment, knowing that you had a talk in the not too distant future, but you didn't feel prepared for it?
Yeah, so I think I maybe contacted you 4 days before the talk or something like that. And I think up until that point, I thought, well, I know my subject area, this talk isn't a problem. And it was in those last few days, I thought, well, what can I do to get the best out of this experience? So it's an opportunity for me to present in front of all these people who might buy my book. So I knew the content quite well, but I wanted to know how to get across that content better. And the other thing I think I felt at that time was that it was all consuming. So in the days leading up to it, I wasn't able to focus on my day-to-day tasks. I wasn't particularly excited about the talk. I was very nervous about it, very apprehensive. I was focusing on what might go wrong rather than what might go well. Even though I knew the subject material, there was a lot of other things going on in the background.
And I think one of the big things that you mentioned to me before as well is that sense of it being all consuming, in that for the period of time between you have your kind of presentation, your talk ready, and the actual talk, normally you wouldn't be able to do anything else at all. You would just constantly want to tweak or to think about it and rerun over those worst case scenarios. What was that period between your session with me and your actual talk like?
It was absolutely incredible. It was I could just get on with my day-to-day tasks. I became excited about the talk. I was looking forward to it. I was focusing on what might go well rather than what might go badly. That didn't even enter into my head. I was able to be really productive with the time. So I would still rehearse the talk, but I'd rehearse small sections of it. I'd imagine what was happening in the audience and that being a really positive experience. So that time beforehand suddenly became enjoyable and productive.
Amazing. And that's a massive difference for you, isn't it?
Huge difference.
So, normally, when you would stand up to give a talk, tell me a little bit about what would be happening in your body in the old days before you came and did the work with me.
Yeah, so I think I'd be incredibly tense. My voice wouldn't be relaxed. And in my mind, I would be worrying about what people are thinking, um, rather than focusing on the task of actually delivering the talk. And it wouldn't be enjoyable.
And how would that then impact on your delivery and the audience experience?
So I definitely wouldn't be as animated. I wouldn't be in a feeling of flow. I would rush through it. Um, and I just wouldn't relax into the whole experience. And I wouldn't be as engaged with the audience because I'd be perhaps imagining that they're not enjoying it. So I wouldn't be getting the kind of real feeling that's happening back from the audience.
Yes, that was a massive shift for you to be able to feel like you were more present, more in a dynamic flow with what was happening in the room and what you were doing and saying next.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That was it. It felt in full flow and totally engaged with the audience and what was going on around me.
Now, tell me a little bit about when you came to see me, because you had a wonderful seat here in the corner of the space where you came and we did some coaching, some going through your actual presentation, your talk itself, some ideas for that, and also some hypnotherapy. So tell me a little bit about what that experience was like for you.
So you made me feel incredibly at home, which was wonderful, incredibly relaxed. Obviously, I suppose I came with a sense of apprehension as to how it would feel delivering the talk in perhaps a contrived environment, but it wasn't like that at all. It didn't feel like that. It felt like you were the audience. It felt wonderful, really, really nice, relaxed atmosphere to deliver the talk in. Yeah,
And then
thank you.
you're very welcome. Then we got stuck into your content as well, didn't we?
Yes, and what was incredible, I thought, was that, it's not your subject area, but yet you could give really insightful advice to that talk. So things like taking a prop with me, taking a ski pole, you could engage in that subject, even though it wasn't your area of expertise.
And I still remember a couple of great lines that you had in that talk anyway, so they were impactful already, which is fab. And then your actual experience in the chair when we got stuck into the hypnotherapy, tell me a little bit about that.
So that was a relatively new experience to me, and I suppose it felt perhaps before like a bit of a gamble engaging in that process. But I suppose from my skiing, I really believe how important the mind is in that process. So why isn't it going to be the same for delivering a talk? In the chair, I suppose I didn't know initially what to expect, but again, I felt incredibly comfortable, very relaxed, and hopeful, I suppose, hopeful that I was going to come away in a much more positive place, which I did.
And you skipped out of the door and went home.
Exactly, yes.
And I remember your talk was on a Thursday. So tell me a little bit about getting into the venue on the Thursday until after your talk. Just talk me through how all of that felt.
You'd given me some fantastic advice about preparing before that, about sussing out the venue, about what the room, whether the room was going to be really deep or really wide. So I had all those things that I knew if I arrive early, I can go and have a look, get a feel for the room, the questions that I wanted to ask the venue, the questions that I wanted to ask the people that were introducing me. So again, I went with a very positive attitude of the things that I needed to find out in advance. But when I saw the venue, I wasn't filled with worry. I was filled with excitement, looking forward to it.
And then when you actually stood up to talk, what did that feel like? I remember bold was kind of your keyword for the day, wasn't it? So tell me about when you stood up. Your name was announced, the drum roll came in your mind, and then there you were. Talk me through that part.
Yeah, so I suppose sort of go for it is kind of the word that sticks in my mind as well. With that bold, it's this is your opportunity. It's a real opportunity to sell yourself and to sell the book. So take it and run with it. And I felt, I suppose, at one with the room and the audience. Yeah, and excitement, and to enjoy it. It was enjoyable. It was really enjoyable.
I remember you sent me a message afterwards. It was like, I'm excited for the next one. I never thought that was going to happen. You're normally just like, oh, thank goodness that's out the way.
Yes, exactly. That was it. Just a completely different feeling at the end. One of excitement. When can I do the next one? Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. I'm excited to find out when the next one is going to be. So, in a kind of nutshell, tell me how you felt before versus how you felt afterwards, and bearing in mind that all of this happened within a few hours. Like we had a morning together. So what was the I felt like this before, I felt like this after in that short window?
So before I felt apprehensive, nervous, tense, and afterwards I felt confident, relaxed, and excited.
And even more, it all paid off for you because you were in flow and you enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, it was a brilliant experience. Yeah, thank you.
And what would you say to anyone who's kind of on the fence about doing the actual work to be able to get to that place where they're just thinking that they'll just do what they normally do and hope for the best? How would you say that doing that work with me in the middle would kind of make it a better experience for them?
If I use the word profitable, I don't necessarily mean in terms of money, but in terms of their own development. It is going to benefit in so many ways, and not just for the actual event, but beyond that. I think the benefits are far wider ranging than just that event. Yeah, so you get far more from it. You can apply the things that you take away in all aspects of life.
And if someone said to you, Alison, I need you to do a talk next Tuesday, how would you feel?
Yes,
Both hands up. Yes,
yes,
gonna do it. Did you
yeah.
ever think you'd be able to feel this way about public
No,
speaking?
no, not at all. And I suppose there's a huge time benefit to it as well, because the time that I have, if somebody said to me, "Do you want to do one tomorrow?" I think the answer would be yes, because I know I could use the time between now and then productively to be able to prepare for it and go into it confidently.
And typically that's the issue really, isn't it? Because all of the people that I work with are really competent in what they're doing. You know, they're experts in what they're doing, but it's that sense of, oh, what happens when the curtain goes back, or when I get handed the mic, or when I'm announced and I have to go and walk at the front of the room, then all of those nerves usually take over. And all of a sudden we find ourselves forgetting what our name is, with the sweaty palms, the dry mouth, the shaky legs. We're trembling, we're looking around the room, we're imagining our mind's going to go blank and we haven't got a clue what to say next. And that person in the second row looks really bored. And oh my goodness, that person must be texting their friend how terrible I am. And oh, I just want the ground to open up and swallow you. And then you just waltzed out there and did your
Yeah.
business.
It's
That's like a huge
yeah,
shift.
it's interesting all those words that you used just then, because I would almost say I can't relate to them because that's a past person or a past experience that, yeah, they're gone.
Amazing. There was one person I worked with a couple of years ago who ran their own business as well. And he said that when he first came to me, he'd been asked to present to a room full of 30 people. He was quite sure he was going to forget everything, that he couldn't do it. He was debating whether he could just pull a sickie and say he wasn't able to turn up at all, but he knew that he'd really be letting himself down if he did it. So he came along, we spent a full afternoon together, did all of the work. He stood up the following Tuesday morning, did his presentation, and then he said afterwards he didn't even realize until after his presentation that before that he would avoid posting on social media in case somebody messaged him and he had to get on a phone call and have a conversation with them. It's like I didn't even realize it was interrupting his own sales process. So, although we think of public speaking often as being at the front of the room, all eyes on us, every interaction where you're even speaking is an opportunity for public speaking. And when you can feel, use the kind of at one with the room phrase earlier on, and that's exactly what I love to create for people. But when you have that feeling of one and you've taken away that separation of the audience over there and you over here, how much would you say that contributed to you really being able to own your space, but also feel part of the room?
Yeah, that was a huge, huge contributing factor. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Hugely significant in the success of the evening. How you viewed the room and the situation.
And what words would you use to describe how you feel now when it comes to public speaking?
Oh, confident, excited, opportunistic. Yeah. I smile just thinking about it.
Good. And so when next time you see somebody at the front of the room, he's like, oh, so nervous, don't know if I can do this. What will you be telling them to do?
Come and see you.
Anything else you'd really like to share, Alison? Any other thoughts?
No, just to say thank you. Absolutely exceeded any expectations that I had of what the process would be. So yeah, thank you very much.
Amazing. And it was a pleasure, needless to say, to do that work with you, to see the little worried face that stepped in from the car into the front door to the face that left. It's like, yes, gonna get out there and do it. And of course, I love getting the messages afterwards telling me that it had all gone really well. So thank you so much. Where can people find out more about your business?
Um, www.offpiste.org.uk, and the book that I've written is called Off-Piste Performance.
Perfect. Thank you so much.